More often, however, we do not know all the force to beings with. In that case, if we know that an object is unaccelerated, that is either at rest or in uniform linear motion, we can infer from the first law that the net external force on the object must be zero. Gravity is everywhere for terrestrial phenomena. In particular, every object experiences gravitational force due to the Earth. Also, objects in motion generally experience friction, viscous drag, etc. Then on Earth, an object is at rest or in uniform linear motion. It is not because there are no forces acting on it, but because the various external forces cancel out, and that is add up to zero net external force. And consider a book at rest on the horizontal surface at figure 5.2a. It is subject to external force, the force due to the gravity, that is weight W, and acting downward, and the upward force on looks as a table. The normal reactions or normal force R is a self-adjusting force. This is an example of the kind of situation maintained above. The force are not quite no fully, but the state of motion is no. We absorb the book to be rest at rest, and therefore we conclude from the first law that the magnitude of r equal that of weight, and a statement often encountered in since w is equal to weight is equal to normal, and the force cancel, and therefore the books is at rest. This is incorrect reasoning. The correct statement is since the book is absorbed to be at rest, the net external force to be must be zero according to their first law. This implies to that consider the motion of a car starting from rest and picking up speed and then moving on a smooth straight road with uniform speed. Figure 5.2 b. Then the car is stationary where there is no net force acting on it during pick up. It accelerated. This must happen due to net external force. Note, it has to be an external force. The acceleration of car cannot be accounted by any internal forces. This might sound surprising, but it true. The only conceivable external force along the road in the force of friction. It is the frictional force that accelerated the car as a whole. You will learn about frictions in section 5.9. When the car moves with constant velocity, there is no net external force. There is no external force, and the law of motions and the property of inertia contained in the first law is event in many situations. Suppose we are standing in a stationary bus, and the drivers start the bus suddenly, and we get thrown backward with a jerk. Why? Our feet are in touch with a floor. If there were no friction, we would remain where we were. While the floor of the bus would simply slip forward under 4 feet, and the back of the bus would hit us. And however, fortunately, there is some frictions between the feet and the floors. If the start is not too sudden, that is if the acceleration is moderated, the frictional force would be enough to accelerate 4 feet along with the bus. But our body is not strictly a rigid body. It is a deformable that is allow some relatively displacement between different parts. What is means in the while our feet go will the bus, and the rest of body remains where it is due to inertia relative to the bus. Therefore we the thrown backward as soon as it happens. However, the muscular force on the rest of the body by feet comes into play a move the body along with the bus. A similar thinking happens when the bus suddenly stops. Our feet stop due to the frictions, and which does not allow relative motion between the feet and the floor of the bus, but the rest of the body continue to move forward due to the inertia. We are thrown forward. The restoring muscular force against come into play and bring the body and the examples and astronaut accidentally get separated, and the next answers. The topic 5.5 Newton's second law of motion. The first law refers to the simple cases when the net external forces on a body is zero. The second law of motion refers to an general situation when there is a net external force acting on the body is related the net external force of the accelerations of the body. Momentums of a body is defined to be the product of its mass m and velocity v, and is denoted by the p, and the p is equal to m into v, and this is a momentum is clearly a vector quantity. The following common experience indicate the importance of this quantity for considering the effect of force on motion. Suppose a lightweight vehicle, say a small cars, and a heavyweight vehicle, say a loaded trucks are parked on the horizontal road. We all know that a much greater force is needed to push the trucks than the cars to bring them the same speed to in same time. Similarly, a greater opposing force is needed to the stop a heavy body than a light body in the same times if they are moving with the same speed. If two stones, one light and the other heavy, are dropped from the top of building, a person on the ground will find it easier to catch the light stone than the heavy stone. The mass of body is thus an important parameter that determine the effect of force on its motions. Speed is another important parameter to consider. A bullet fired by a gun can easily pierce human tissue before it stops, resulting in constantly. The same bullet fired with moderate speed will not cause much damage. Thus, for a given mass, the greater the speed, the greater in the opposing force needed to the stop the body in a certain time. Taken together, the product of mass and velocity, what that is momentum, is eventually a relative a variable of motions. The greater the change in the momentum in a given time, the greater is the force that need to be applied. A seasoned cricket catch a cricket ball coming with the greater speed far more easily than a novice who can hurt in hand in the acts on regions in that the cricketer allow a longer time for this hand to stop the ball. As you may have noticed, the draw in the hands backward in the act of catching the balls, figure 5.3, and the noise on the other hand, keeping this hand fixed at dry to catch the balls almost instantly. He need to provide a much greater force to stop the ball instantly, and the hurt the conclusion in clear. Force not only depend on the change in momentum, but also on how fast the change in brought about. The same change in momentum brought about in the shorter time needed a greater applied force. In short, the greater the rate of change of momentum, the greater in the force, and the observations confirm that the product of mass and velocity, and that is momentum, is basic to the effect of force on motion. Suppose a fixed force is applied for a certain interval of time on two bodies of different masses. Initially at rest, the lighter body pick up a greater speed than the heavier body. However, at the end of the times interval, absorptions know that each body requires the same momentum. Thus, the same force for the same time causes the same changes in momentum for different bodies. This is crucial clue to the second law of motions. The preceding observation in the vector's character of momentum has not been evident in the example of for momentum and change in momentum. Both have the same directions, but this is not always the case. Suppose a stone is rotated with uniform speed in a horizontal plane by mean on of a strings. The magnitude of momentum is fixed, but its direction changes, and a force is needed to cause this change in momentum vectors and momentum vectors. These quantitative absorption lead to the second law of motion expressed by Newton as follows: the rate of change of momentum of a body is directly proportional to the applied force and take place in the direction in which the force acts. Thus, if under the action of a force F for times interval delta t, the change of delta t, the velocity of body of mass m changes from v to v plus delta v. That is the initial momentum. Momentum is equal to p is equal to m into v. Change by p, delta p is equal to m into delta v. And according to the second law of motion, shear proportional force is proportional to the delta p upon delta t, or F is equal to constant is equal to k and delta p by delta t, where k is constant for proportionality, taking the times limits at delta t is equal to 0. Their terms delta p by t becomes the derived for differential coefficient of p with respect to t, denoted by dp by dt. Thus F is equal to k in k dp is small dp by dt for on body of fixed mass m, and dp by dt is equal to p dp by dt is equal to d dt m v, and m is outside, and dp by dt and m a. And in the second law can also be written as F is equal to k m a kma, and which show that force is proportional to the product of mass and acceleration. The unit of force has not been defined too far. In fact, we use equation 5.4 to define the unit of force v, and therefore have the liberate to choose any constant value of k. For simplicity, we choose k is equal to 1. The second then the dp by dt is equal to m into a, and in the SI unit, force is one that causes acceleration of 1 meter per second to mass 1 kg. In this unit is known as newtons. 1 newton is equal to 1 kg meter per second squares. Meter per second squares. Let us note at this stage some important point about the second law. First is the second law: F is equal to 0, impulse A is equal to 0. The second law is obviously consistent with the first law, and the second law of motion is a vector's law. It is equivalent to three equations, one for each compact of the vectors, and fx in the dpx by dt is equal to max, and the fy dpy upon dt is equal to may, and fz is equal to pz by dt is equal to mz. And this means that if a force is not parallel to the velocity of the body but makes some angle when it the change only the component of velocity along the direction of force, the component of velocity normal to the force remaining unchanged. For the example, in motion of a projectile under the vertical gravitational force, the horizontal component of velocity remains unchanged. And the third point, the second law of motion given by equation 5.5 is applicable to a single point particle. The force F is the law stand for net external force on the particles, and E stand for accelerations of the particles. It turned out, however, that the law in the same form apply to a rigid body, or even more generally to a system of particles. In that case, F refer to any total external force on the system, and refer to the acceleration of the system as whole. More precisely, a is the acceleration of the center of mass of the system, about which we shall study in detail chapter 7a. And any internal forces in the system are not be including in F. And 4 points. The second law of motion is a local relation, which means that force F at a point in space location of the particles at the certain instant of time is related to a at that point. At that instant, acceleration here at now is determined by the force the here's at now, not any history of the motion of the particles. 5.5 and the retarding force by the second law of motions is equal to 0.04 kg into 6750 meter per second square is equal to 270 newtons. And the impulse at the second impulse. And the example for 5.3, the motion of particles mass m is described by y is equal to itna behind the force acting on the particle. So we now the answers y is equal to ut plus half a gt square and u is equal to dy by dt is equal to u plus dt, and the acceleration a by dv by dt g. Then the force is given and f is equal to ma is equal to mg, and thus in the given equation describe the motion of a particle under the acceleration due to the gravity, and y is the position coordinate in the acceleration. And talk to about the impulse.